Hello everyone, welcome back to EazyTutor. This is Arokia. In this video, I'm going to discuss about web automation. Web automation is basically something we deal with HTTP requests, any online request, basically. So when you talk about web automation, you should think about all the available options first from that particular website. Let's say we receive a request for an automation. That data which we need from that website is already available through API. In that case, we should approach it differently. And when there is a case where we don't have any APIs from that particular website, then we need to go for another approach, which is a little bit complicated. In where there is a possibility for API, it's a very straightforward. If you are familiar with Python, you can simply achieve it through request module, because that's a simple HTTP request and you get the output and parse it and use whatever you want. When you don't have that structured data from that particular website, you need to go for an option called web scraping. So web scraping is nothing but you need to get the page source and you need to get the structured data from that unstructured page source. That is all web scraping. And web scraping is not always legal, though it is available in public. We need to get a prior permission in some cases, so we need to be a little bit careful in that scenario. So let's see, when we have API, how to approach it. And secondly, when we don't have API, how to approach it. And in scraping also, we may face some difficulties because the latest trend, people are using JavaScript based websites, which you can't simulate directly with request module. So all these scenarios we are going to see in this video, and probably one more video in this same topic. So first, let's say how to approach the API based web automation request. Let's search for some sample API for that. So I'm going with COVID-19 API online. So this is the URL which for request, and I'm declaring main and get COVID data. Okay, this function I am declaring here. Okay, my API endpoint is this URL. This URL, and I'm going to get the response for that. Request.get. This API has get method. Similarly, some APIs may have different HTTP methods. Based on that, we need to use. Here we have API endpoint, and since it's a HTTP, verify false. Since it's a HTTP request, I'm giving verify false. Now let's try to just print this response content, response.txt I'm giving. So we'll print response status code as well, because we may need to check this to validate the request got success or not. So here I'm just running this script. Okay, it hits. Okay, we got the data now. This is our data. So the all country based data we have received. For that we need to get exactly this country's key from this response.txt, and the response status code we have received 200. So what I'm going to check is if response dot status code equal to 200, I'm going to get the JSON data equal to sp.json. Okay, and for country in instead of JSON, let's put data. data. From data I'm going to fetch the key countries, and that is a list of dictionary you can see. So I am simply going through this like country data. Let me print this country data. So let's try that. Okay, now you can see country wise data. So this is how we fetch data from online if we have convenient API method from that particular source. If we don't have this kind of APIs from a website, but we actually need a data from that particular website, we can use that technique of web scraping, which I told you earlier. Web scraping is basically we need to have a little bit understanding of how what is DOM and how to inspect and how to look for particular element in a website. So all those things we'll see in this video further. So this is all about API based data fetching and automating whatever you want. See, once you receive the data, what you do with the data is up to individual request, whatever you receive. So this is how we interact with API based. And when you deal about web scraping type, so let's see, say COVID-19 data, and let me search through something, or let's take our website itself, EazyTutor.in. This is the website. Let's say we need some data from this website which doesn't have any API. In this scenario, how we approach and how we fetch these details. So first we need to hit this and we get the page source. From that page source, okay, here we can have scraping based automation.py. Okay, for scraping we need to use a library called Beautiful Soup, which helps us to parse the HTML source code. So for that, let me import request first, because I need to get the source code first. Then I need to parse that page source code. So for that I am importing Beautiful Soup. Here I am getting get EazyTutor blogs. Okay, same thing I am defining here. Okay, my URL is https://easytutor.in. Here I am going to get the response request.get URL and verify. I'll give false. Okay, here I am going to print response.text. This will print you the entire HTML page source of that particular page. So let's try this. Python scraping web automation, Python scraping based automation. If you see, request is being made. The entire thing is HTML page source of my index page in my site. So if we want to fetch individual elements from this HTML content, we need to first create the Beautiful Soup object out of this text. For that, we'll create one object soup by passing this content s.txt, and I am giving my parser as LXML parser. Now let's see how this should give us like Beautiful Soup object. After that, how to get information from that Beautiful Soup object, that we can further you can learn more about it, and I'll give you very simple techniques. Let's say if I want to fetch only these titles, so right click the browser and go to inspect element, and by inspecting element you can see there's a entry title, h3 entry title. So first you need to fetch post entry content. From there you can get these entry titles. So my purpose is getting this all the entry titles. So first let's simply attempt to get this entry title text. So this contains this is actually a h3 tag. We need to look all h3 tag, and then we need to fetch this text from that. So for that, soup will help you to fetch all those details. What I'm going to do is soup find all. I'm going to fetch h3 elements, and let's try to just print this first. For entry in soup.findAll, I'm going to print entry.txt. So let's see how this goes. This may have some additional entries as well. You can see all my blog post has been listed here. So there can be some h3 entries which may not have any items in it. So like that we can remove on with all the basic Python stuff. So this is how we fetch details from some website which doesn't have any proper API methods to give you the structured data. So basically like this you can fetch any data from that website. And the third scenario which I talked about is different stuff. When you search for page source, you may not have anything. All the stuff you see in the page source will be JavaScript. That JavaScript will be rendering the actual content which you see in the browser. So in that case, this technique may not work for us. In that case, we should go for browser-based automation. So in that next video, I'll show you how to automate that and how to automate your browser and do all these kind of stuff and fetch the data from that unstructured source. And for one example, I can show you to navigate to facebook.com and try to, this is the actual content. The page source for this will be different. See, all these are just JavaScripts. You don't have any HTML content here. All these JavaScripts are responsible for rendering the HTML content which you see here. So these kind of sources, you can't directly scrape these kind of sites. So we'll see that in next video. And thanks for watching. Hope you like this video. If you like this video, please do subscribe, share and like this video. Thanks guys.